Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
Welcome into Missing the Point. I am DK Sizzle, joined by a pair of nitwits to talk about the National Football League, a product we're all still hopelessly addicted to, like it's black tar heroin. Doesn't matter how many brains melt inside helmets, we're still going to tune every Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. I'm here with the real BK Bob Kelly and Joe Malkin. I think we're going to do the same thing we always do, guys. We're going to go through Bobby's power rankings, use that as a springboard to kind of jump off and talk about different teams, the state of the league as a whole. See if me and Bobby did this show last week, Joe, and we were pretty sure that by this week we would know more than we seem to actually know now, which is maybe even less. Good teams are still losing, bad teams are still winning. We're starting to maybe trying to figure out if one of those is true or not, what teams are good, what teams are bad. There's a few locks, but I mean, even the mighty Cheifs seem to have some kinks in the armor. So let's just get into it. And we're going to start with the Los Angeles. I was about to call them the San Diego, but the Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert and co.
That was for you, by the way.
Back in the top 10. I think, but my argument last week, and Joe, I'll start with you on this one. My argument last week was that on paper, there's, as much as they've been somewhat underperforming this season, although they haven't had the easiest schedule, on paper they still have a ton of talent. So how do you like the Chargers at number 10 in the power rankings, and where do you see their season going?
I just hate the top 10, and not because Bobby put it together, but just because I hate it. There's teams that should be there that like just aren't because of how they're playing.
There's two specifically that you're mad about being missing, right?
Well, there's one, but no, I'm not mad about you missing them. I'm just saying that parity is. The parody that they expect is being parodied again. It's like parodyception. I like the Chargers at 10. CBS has them at 12, so I think it's safe having them at 10. I mean, everybody's going to have things ranked differently. This is a good football team, but per usual, Keenan Allen can't stay healthy, and that's been a big issue for me. But they seem to be winning despite that and playing well despite that. I think Brandon Staley is a better coach than we give him credit for. I think there are some bad coaches in this league, and I don't think he's in the bottom 10 coaches in the league. I think he's a top 22 coach in the league, but
well, I mean, just to not exactly rebut that point, but for what he's executing with what he seems to have on paper talent-wise, especially at the quarterback position in a quarterback-driven league, would you not, I mean, bottom 10, top 10, whatever, but would you not level some criticism for the rocky start to their season?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you have to. And we talk about this with all the teams that have young quarterbacks, first, second, third, fourth year quarterbacks. And there's a team right above the Chargers here in Bobby's top 10 that head coach is doing more with a lot less, and a quarterback that is much worse than Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert's a good NFL quarterback.
He's the reason. He's pretty much the sole reason why they're still on this list.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because if you look at this team, so the thing that really sprung me away from them last week was that the left tackle Slater being out for the season, because he's such a big piece.
Yeah, you could see the pressure in Herbert too.
Yeah, and he can do well under pressure, but he's not great. You know what I mean? He has a tendency to make some bad decisions under pressure.
He's kind of a prototypical slot guy too, pocket guy too. So it's like, I feel, it's not like the mobile quarterbacks that almost benefit from rolling out or moving or plays breaking down, and they get creative. He's not really in that archetype. I don't think he needs a little time. Mm-hmm. It would have been great to see Joe Burrow get that kind of time, because I think he's sort of the same way. But I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, Mike Williams is a stud too, and he at least has some weapons to throw to. But I do feel like he's carrying this fucking team on his back right now. Like I had early calls for him at MVP before the season started. It's probably going to be Jalen Hurts at this point, but a little honorable mention for Justin Herbert fucking keeping this thing together with fucking spit and sellotape, right?
I mean,
is this his third year?
Third, yeah.
Yeah.
Third year, second head coach.
The thing with Staley, man, is like I get being aggressive, but like sometimes aggressive is fucking aggressive.
Well, I think
know what
for
I mean?
him,
Like it's just, bro. But like 4th and 2, minute 10 left, and if they went for what were they on their like 40-yard line, and they went for it, give the ball back to Cleveland with a minute 10 left, a first down away from winning the game. Granted, Cleveland fucking blew it, but bro, you can't.
I think that's partly
that. It's winning time. Time to make them drive the field, right?
I think that's partly Staley not having any faith in the Browns. I think that's him underestimating the Browns or estimating them perfectly.
I mean, he was right.
Apparently,
right.
perfectly. Yeah.
But yeah, I think in that division too, and they have the Broncos on Monday Night Football this week, and that's not a very good football team. And you want to talk about a bad head coach? Nathaniel Hackett is not a good head coach, or so we've seen through 5 games. This one's going to come down to a coaching decision, like which coach makes the boo boo, and I don't think it's going to be Staley, because I think he was playing that aggressive because of the team he was going up against and what he knows he's going to have to do to attempt to win, especially against a team like the Chiefs.
I don't know, man. I feel like the narrative of that Monday night game is a little bit more like which team's more desperate, and I feel it's definitely the Chargers. Like the Chargers still have a season to salvage, you know. I feel like
the Broncos are only a game behind them, though.
But if you totally understand like the atmosphere in Denver right now. Like everybody's looking at that Russell Wilson contract and being
they left.
Fuck.
They left in overtime. Like they left before overtime.
Yeah,
half of that stadium filed out before
that team's already quit, if in my opinion. And I'm happy to be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that everybody's like, "Holy shit, what kind of a Russell Wilson did we get?" Just to go off on a tiny little Denver Broncos tangent, and then
that's fine. That's what they're here for, bro.
I do feel like in Seattle, like those fans grew up with Russell Wilson. Like they came up with him. He won him fucking silverware, and I think the Denver Broncos fans are like, we have no loyalty to you, and you've basically crippled our team if you perform at this level for the next however many years with this fucking $1 billion contract that we gave you. And it looks like there's a reason why Pete Carroll let him go. So, and he's a system guy. Like he is a system guy at the end of the day. Like, you know, I think Pete Carroll made him look good. You know, I don't think
look at what Geno Smith's doing
before,
up there.
But yeah, exactly. I think there's a good system and a good head coach in Seattle. And now you're kind of seeing like, oh shit. Like, I mean, look, I didn't know. I wanted Russ in fucking Chicago. You know, I wanted fucking anybody before we got Fields. I would have taken the fucking janitor that was cleaning out the fucking bathrooms in Soldier Field. But I think, you know, I think to see what's now happened, I'm glad he got his bag and everything. And like, I got no allegiance to the Denver Broncos either.
But all 240 mil.
You can't be, if you're not. I mean, Brock Osweiler is a quarterback to be mad at. At least,
agreed.
At least Russ has proven that he can win. He can win big games. He's proven that he can win big games in the system he was in under Pete Carroll.
See, the thing with Russ now is you guys remember when Russ was in his prime, bro, his deep ball was the most beautiful goddamn thing to watch.
It was awesome.
In the entire league.
Yeah.
He's not even close on any of his deep balls so far this year. And
he doesn't look like he gives a shit, to be quite honest.
Right, and you partner that in with the fact that he's not doing the Russell hustle shit. You know what I mean? He's not running all over the field. He's not doing spin moves in the backfield anymore.
Really hard to pound the pavement when you're waking up in silk pajamas, bro.
Well, agreed. And eating dangerous sandwiches. But like, come on.
Also, with all that money, you think you can hire a better publicist.
Bobby, you didn't pronounce that right. It's dangerous sandwiches. Dangerous sandwiches.
I mean, at least he's a fucking
I've done something like that before.
Listen. At least he's a great meme, if not a great quarterback.
He is a great meme.
He's
let's ride.
But yeah, Joe, moving on. I'll start with you again since you touched on what's going on up in New York, because you know I guess it's down in New York for you guys, or Bobby, it's down for you. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It's down.
Yeah, great. So down in New York, over in New York for me. Yeah, this Giants team, I think it's a flimsy 4-1. They're 4-1, right? I think it's a flimsy 4-1. I think that there's always teams that like, they've won more games, and I think that they maybe like are able to on paper coming into this part of the year. But I don't know. I mean, Saquon Barkley's looked great. And like you said, that they're getting a lot out of that fucking Daniel Jones guy, which I wouldn't have bet on in a million years. So how do you feel about New York? Do you think that they're a little thin and this is going to even itself out, or are they like going to win that division?
Wait, can I go first? Sorry. So I'm sorry, but they weren't real until they beat the Packers. Now is when you can actually consider them real, because they beat someone who actually mattered now. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sit here and tell me that if the Bears beat the Packers 2 weeks ago, you'd be like, this team is real. We're in it. We're a contender now.
Yeah. But like the difference, right, that you're missing from the comparison is I can look at the Giants objectively, and if it's the Bears, I would be going berserk for a completely illogical basis. So it's not a fair comparison.
But like,
I'd be like, we're winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, of course.
When you have a legit player like Saquon Barkley in a position with a play caller like Dabble that can just get every ounce of ability and production out of that position. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable what he's doing with Saquon.
Well, that's what he's done is he's gotten the team to buy in, and everybody's a part of it. And Kadarius Toney is hurt, but the wide receiving core there,
Shepard's out. Shepard's out too.
Shepard's out too, but the wide receiving core there is sneaky good. Between Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, Darius Slayton, this David Sills kid, this Wan'Dale Robinson guy out of Kentucky, they have Kenny Golladay, who was a top receiver in Detroit for a lot of years, and he's barely
top receiver in Detroit's like being the world's tallest midget, though.
Yeah, I understand, and we won't talk about the Lions because we won't talk about the Patriots, but they're a fun team to watch. They're interesting to watch because Bobby's right. Like, Daboll's squeezing every ounce of effort out of all of these guys. Saquon's finally healthy and clearly was being completely mismanaged by Joe Judge and Ben McAdoo.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I don't even think he was being like I don't think he was being treated right as far as health stuff goes, but I also don't even think he was being schemed for his full potential. Like, he's catching balls now out in the flat that like give him a little room to run. Bro. Like, it's crazy. Like, he's like, I feel like they were giving him the Derrick Henry treatment before, where it was like, load him up, like put the workload on him, like find him some holes, like let's see what he can do, like 4 yards per carry, love it, like unbelievable, like great return. But now it's like, let's make them scheme for him. Like, let's confuse them. Let's make them watch him all fucking day, because then it opens up, like you said, like a sneaky good receiving core, and it gives Daniel Jones throws that, like, quite frankly, anybody could fucking make.
but that's what it's about, right? Is simplifying the offense and to bring the Patriots in. I mean, look what the Patriots.
What was the over under on that?
You just couldn't help yourself. That was great.
But look what the Patriots just did with a rookie quarterback.
Take a shot.
Yeah, right. So, but it's the same. It's the same thing, right? Like, don't make the offense too complicated, and that's what Daboll did. And he implemented the same offense that he had up in Buffalo, but actually added in some running plays, because he actually has a running back down here. Not that Devin Singletary is a bad running back,
but he's not Saquon Barkley.
But he's not Saquon Barkley.
Who is? There's like 3 guys like that in the whole league.
There's no. I mean, is there anyone like Saquon though?
I mean,
well, definitely not Zeke.
They're different. I would say, like, you could, you'd be just as happy with Derrick Henry team. You'd be just as happy with the Saquon. You'd be who else am I forgetting? I mean, if Aaron Jones wasn't,
Derrick Henry.
If Aaron Jones wasn't like in a committee in Green Bay, I feel like he could be used.
Like AJ Dillon's the better running back there.
Tony Pollard. Obviously.
Tony Pollard. Yeah, totally.
So it's fine, Joe. First of all, it's like you said the word Patriot in the first sentence. You're like, I can't talk about them, and then they were just like tickling the back of your brain, like, you want to talk about it. You want to talk about it.
Makes sense, right? But the com makes sense because Dave said it. Like, he's making throws that just about anybody can make it, and that's what Belichick did with Zappy this week, and that's what these teams need to be doing with these young quarterbacks that aren't great. Let them manage the game. Don't make them go out there and throw up balls like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers do every week, because it's not going to work.
Yeah. So there's two things. First, Andrew Jones is sneaky athletic. I always forget that this dude can just absolutely burn. Like, he averages 60 to 70 yards a game, I think, or maybe a little less than that. Definitely exaggerating, but you know what I mean.
Austin Eckler, that's who I was forgetting. Austin Eckler. He's been a fucking beast.
And then, secondly, what it just kind of hit me that, like, what the Giants are doing, it's like they took what the Niners brought to the forefront with Debo those last 2 years, where he was a wide receiver, he was a running back, he didn't know where he was going to line up. They kind of made their whole game plan around him, and they almost expanded it to where it's like, this is now our identity. We're going to stay in these games all 4 quarters. Every single time we're going to be in the end of that game, because we're just going to sit here and pound Saquon down your throat, throw him out of the backfield. Debo, consensually, of course. And
always consensual here. I'm missing the point.
It just reminds me a lot of the Debo factor, man, except it's even more with Saquon and this Giants team, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think they're fun to watch. I got Saquon Barkley in a fantasy football trade with our producer, Craig Delisandro. So now I'm even more invested. He's a lot. He's a lot to handle. I like it. Moving on to the Ravens. I'm not sure anything's really changed from what we talked about last week, Bobby. Joe, like, essentially, to sum it up, this really isn't Lamar Jackson's fault. Like, I know that people are quick to jump on it. Like, tell me if you disagree, but I know people are quick to jump on the narrative that, like, Lamar Jackson isn't really a quarterback. You can't build a winning Super Bowl winning team around him. He doesn't perform in the playoffs. Like, you've heard all these things before, but the kind of what we settled on is the fact that they're in all places, in Baltimore, their defense is fucking trash. And it seems to just be blowing fucking games for what Lamar Jackson is doing, which is basically his job. If anything's really changed in your mind, Bobby, before that, go ahead. But
I just want to make the point that Jim Harbaugh did what we said.
Yeah.
And kicked used the greatest kicker of all time.
It was about time to win a game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they won.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
I liked his line about being a system kicker too. Did you hear that?
It's just it's still crazy to me.
But he was like, oh, it's all about the snap and the hold, and like once you get all that down, I'm just a system kicker. I'm like, no, bro.
Justin Tucker is the best kicker of all time. Justin Tucker is the best kicker of all time, and that can be debated, I guess. But they have the second best tight end in the league in Mark Andrews behind Travis Kelce. Jackson is dynamic. He's proven he can throw the ball. We know he can run. I think he needs a better running back. Outside of that, their wide receiving core is sneaky above average, and they do a good job. And you're right, Dave. That's the biggest thing that is why they're 3-2 and not 4-1 or 5-0. Is their defense kind of sucks, and that's going to be a problem.
We also mentioned Harbaugh. Like, the league seems to sort of be passing him by a little bit as far as like how he can scheme and like what his kind of game management has turned into. Because I feel like the kind of losses that the Ravens have suffered are like nowhere near the kind of losses you expect a Jim Harbaugh team to, like, because it's like mental mistakes, penalties, like, it's whatever. They look real similar, but I feel, it's like at the end of the day,
is longer.
Dude, I don't know if I can pick them apart.
I haven't measured it.
Jim's face is taller.
John's the one in the Ravens.
Yeah.
Right. John's in purple and Jim is in maize and blue.
Yeah. He needs to be in red. All right. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. Nothing's really changed for me as far as the Ravens go. Like, I just think they need to get a little bit more disciplined, keep giving the ball to their best players to win the games and just try to get it sorted out on defense. Cause I feel like the entire fucking Baltimore Ravens defense walked into my office right now that I wouldn't be able to tell who the fuck was who. So they got to go get some studs. They got to go figure some shit out. Not their year though.
They'll be second in that division. They'll be second in that division behind Cincinnati, and they'll probably make the playoffs.
But if the narrative about Lamar Jackson's career, if he never wins a Super Bowl and he keeps getting bounced down the playoffs, if the narrative is going to be he was never really a QB, he was a glorified running back, blah blah blah. I mean, I would just like to.
That's stupid.
Yeah, but I would like to at least have it be on his terms. I would like to see Lamar Jackson succeed or fail because of Lamar Jackson. I don't want it to be because of their fucking defense.
Well, could we use, and not to go off on a tangent, but could we use?
That's what we do, dude.
I know. Could we use Mike Vick as kind of a comp with him?
You took that right out of my brain.
I think he throws a better ball than Mike Vick.
I was just gonna say so.
Yeah, but Mike Vick threw a hell of a long ball, man.
His deep ball was sexy. Yeah,
it was the best ball he threw.
But I know, but he like
so. Yeah, but like when you think
the long ball.
When you think about Mike Vick's career, besides his football career, no one ever points out like, oh, he wasn't a good quarterback. He wasn't this. They're like, oh, he was that electric quarterback. He did this. He beat the Packers in the wild card that one time.
Yeah, but that's not the narrative that Jackson gets.
Right. That's what I was just going to say. Yeah. That's not the narrative Jackson gets, and I don't really get it because you're right. He is a better passer. Like
Bobby, can I ask you a question on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it because it was a novelty when Vick did it?
It was. That's exactly why.
More of a common thing.
Why. He broke Madden that year. It's like it wasn't novelty. We'd never seen a quarterback like that. And now people are so fucking jaded. And it's like, no, you have to be this. You have to be this. And like, quite frankly, like he's the only guy in the league that's like that. And I think there's guys that are like, the Patrick Mahomes of the world and the Josh Allens of the world. They can move. Like they can shake the fucking hips. They can put a little move on and like make a play. Aaron Rodgers can still fucking do it even, like at his ripe old age. I don't know how old he is in ayahuasca years, but I think I think a guy like Lamar Jackson, as dynamic as he is, there's no one else like that. Like, I mean, for me, I'm a fan of a terrible NFC team. I'm happy to watch the fucking Ravens play because he's playing, like it's one of those things where I'm like, this is, this is just fun to watch, like whether they win or not. It's like when I used to watch all Allen Iverson games. I'm like, I just love it. Like I love seeing him do his thing. So I
think of it almost as the Louis C.K. skit where it's like airplanes everywhere. It's everything's amazing.
Yeah.
But everything's amazing.
I know which one you're talking about. He's talking about the guy that, I mean, sorry for everyone that's going to be offended that we're talking about.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Now shamed. We got yelled at
second time.
But he's like, oh, they announced, like, this is an old bit, but he's like, oh, they announced they're going to have Wi-Fi in the plane. And he was like, that's amazing. I can't believe we're doing that. And then the guy, they were like, sorry, it's not working. And the guy next to me was like,
oh, that's bullshit.
And he's like, you're mad about something you didn't even know existed 10 minutes ago. He's like, you should be worshiping the fact that we're flying through the air right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is the airplane. Where it's like, we should all be sitting here like, Wi-Fi. Oh my God. But everyone's like, bro, did you see he overthrew that? Do you see 90% of the quarterbacks that play in the NFL right now? Listen, no one can run as fast as Lamar. And I promise you, people are missing more throws than Lamar is every Sunday.
He's a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Without a doubt.
All right, cool. Let's truck on through. We're going on to Joe's favorite subject, Tom Brady.
He's a top 32 quarterback in the league.
Best quarterback.
Right. Nuzzled right up next to Jimmy G. Right by.
So what we talked about before, Joe, was, the idea of, and I actually am going to let him go first this time, Bobby. What we talked about before is that the idea that as much talent as the Bucs seem to have on paper, something doesn't feel right in Tampa Bay. I know they have Tom Brady, but there's some tabloid shit going on with him. He doesn't. I'm not going to go so far as to say that he doesn't look the same because I think he's still pretty elite, and it doesn't. I couldn't really pinpoint like anything of him like losing a step or like looking any worse or anything like that, but. There's something weird going on with his face, but he probably just ate the latest like fucking child sacrifice, and like that's part of the process of regeneration. Like the doctor from
the
Dr.
sunken
Who.
skull stage,
Yeah, are you saying he spent those 11 days on a certain island?
Yeah. Him and the rest of the Illuminati. But what do you think?
11 more years.
What do you think's going on down there in Tampa Bay? Is he going to win another Super Bowl? Like,
well, Bobby's got him ranked 7th. I think there is a chance he could win another Super Bowl. There's clearly something going on with him at home.
They lawyered up, right? That's
yeah, they did.
It's a fish.
Part of what I think is going on, I think as much as people have this conversation in New England about is it Bill, is it Tom, I think there's a conversation to be had down there of is it Tom or is it who was the coach last year whose name is literally
Bruce Arians?
escaping me?
Bruce
Arians.
Yeah.
And I think that they worked together better than Tom thinks they did, and I think Bruce just wanted a handle on what was going on in the offensive room, and Tom said no, and they didn't get along very well. So now he's got Todd Bowles. and Todd Bowles only pays attention to the defense, and Tommy gets to run the offense. I think him not being there for 11 days and then coming back and yelling and screaming at his guys on the field, regardless of what was going on, isn't a good look, regardless of who
he's getting
are
hit a
and how
lot,
long
man.
you've been
He's
in the
getting
league.
hit a lot, you know.
He's getting hit a lot.
He's a
I
million.
think that, but that's what I mean is I think there's more going on there than meets the eye. And what I'm alluding to is I think maybe the guys around him are a little tired of his bullshit.
But the Bucks chose him. So that's like he got into that bout with Arians, everything like that. It was all behind closed doors, so we don't actually know.
Of course the Bucks are going to
But-
choose Tom Brady. The Patriots didn't, and you
I was
think
just gonna
that-
say the Patriots didn't.
You think that the Bucks front office is going to sit there and go, "Well, the Patriots effed it up, so we're going to do the same thing and pick the 65-year-old coach over the 44-year-old quarterback"? No, of course not.
The thing is, though, guys, is we no matter how the Bucks look right now, right? No matter what happens, if they're let's say 7-5 coming down the stretch, bro, they're a dangerous team at the end of this season. You know what I mean? Like, regardless of what they look right now, it's Tom fucking Brady. You know, until Tom Brady stops being Tom Brady, it's you cannot count that guy out until he's like, I'm out. You know, until he's done.
What if we're watching it happen? Like right now, what if we're watching
They're
Tom
3-2,
Brady?
right? But
I understand they're 3. I understand they're 3-2, but the Ravens are 3-2.
And who in that division? But who in that division is going to beat it?
Oh,
The Saints?
if New Orleans, hey,
The
if
Panthers?
New Orleans,
If New
can get
Orleans
healthy,
what, bro? If New Orleans what, bro? Come on.
If New
Are we
Orleans
still
can
doing
get
this?
healthy,
It's Andy
yes.
Dalton.
If New Orleans can get
Yes.
healthy and they can get Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara on the field at
What
the
I
same
said week
time,
one.
and
That's literally
still
what I said
using
week one.
Taysom Hill as a dynamic playmaker, they can win that division with Jameis Winston if he can get healthy and come
That's a big hill for them to climb at this point.
And the thing with Taysom is we have that game every year. It's like literally for the last 5 years, there's been that Taysom Hill game where he scores 46 fantasy points, and the next week he gets like
Plays 4 positions.
right.
but the difference there is that right now that starting quarterback is out. And the last time he did that was when the starting quarterback had announced his retirement and was reaching the end, and they were looking for some gadget plays to get this guy invested. Now they've invested in him, and they've signed him to a big contract. So, of course, they're going to use him. Well, no, he's not going to get 46 fantasy points a week, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about two teams battling for the top spot in a bad division because Atlanta sucks and Carolina sucks. Carolina just fired their head coach. So I don't know what their record is against those other two teams this year, but there's no way that New Orleans or Tampa should lose any of those 4 games, and I think those two teams would split. So I think we're looking at 2 5-1 teams in the division, and if Tampa is 7-5 after 12 games, what is the Saints' record right now?
I think they've won 1 game.
No, I think they're 2-3 because they won in London.
Oh, that's right.
Oh no, they lost in London. They lost on like a 62-yard field goal. So I don't know.
They've won 1 game.
They're 2-3.
I'm
Oh,
literally
who the
where's
fuck-
my
who
state?
So else did they
They're a game and the Falcons are 2-3. They're a game behind Tampa in that division. They have beaten Atlanta. They lost to Tampa. Oh my God, they lost to Carolina. So maybe I'm completely off base here.
Yeah,
they
listen,
lost to the Vikings and they beat the Seahawks.
There's no way. Listen, I've watched if you watch Red Zone every Sunday, right?
I do.
Right. So I know you guys. So when you watch the Panthers, it's pitiful. When you watch the Falcons, it's pretty bad. There's bright spots. I'll give you that. Their running game's pretty good. They got Drake London, but most of the time it's Marcus Mariota.
I like
overthrowing
I like
balls
what's
or
his name?
fumbling.
Cordell Patterson.
He's hurt.
No, just this last week though, he's had a good start to the season for them.
Well, of course you like him because you liked him in a Bears uniform.
All I'm saying
He looks
is,
sexy.
So Tampa Bay's minus 300 right now to win the division. That's what the Green Bay Packers are to beat the Jets.
That's a lot.
That's what the Bucks. That's what the Bucks are to beat the Steelers. Like it would be a huge upset.
I don't think Tampa's winning the Super Bowl this year.
I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl. I agree with
They're
you.
gonna win their division though. Like fucking New
winning that
Orleans,
division.
like that ship has sailed.
Yeah, Tom Brady's gonna have that wrapped up by end of November.
That's why they play the games, Dave.
Yeah, and like them at the start of the season when you two specifically were like New Orleans. And I was like, they're going to suck. And then they played the games and they sucked. So here we are. Anyway, moving right along.
I am saying they can't lose to Atlanta and Carolina, and they lost to both.
They lost to both.
Look,
Wait. He'll play.
He'll play.
All right, moving on to I've frankly absurd six piece Vikings placement. I don't know if you saw the not very good Chicago Bears come very fucking close to a massive comeback victory over them. I don't know if you saw them barely win the games that they've been winning and fucking lose to teams that they shouldn't have been losing into. What is it that you're seeing about the Minnesota Vikings that I'm not seeing? Because I think you're looking at their roster and you're going but that guy's good and that guy's good and that guy's good, instead of looking at him on the field and going wait, that guy's supposed to be good, but he's not. And so neither is that guy. And Kirk Cousins is still their fucking quarterback. So why are they better than the fucking Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Why are they better than the Baltimore Ravens? Please make it make sense to me.
Because they're currently 4-1, and when you look up and down that roster, man, it's exactly what you said. It's that guy's fucking awesome, and that guy. All I gotta say is, if they play a primetime game, I promise you they won't be on the top 10 the next week. It's not like I'm saying Vikings are going to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying on any given Sunday, that's a tough. Right? I went there. I cliched it. On any given Sunday, that's a tough team to beat. You know what I mean? If that team is on, that they could put up 40 on you any given week.
Can I just say, and this is going to be obviously difficult for me to say, but
I wish the Vikings game wasn't Sunday night. You know what I mean? Because Kirk Cousins, you just can't do prime time, man. He's got a bedtime or something like that. Yeah. I don't know. He's he just can't do it, man.
He's fuck, I turned into a pumpkin in 10 minutes. Interception. Look, week 1, they blow out the Packers, right? Which I think we can kind of say was a little bit of an anomaly. I think, if they played the Packers this week, can anyone make the case to me that the Packers don't win that game? I think.
Are the Packers? Wait, can we go? No, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah,
you go.
They lose to the Eagles, who are the number 1 team on your power rankings, who you've been maintaining are full of it's a stud show. It's like Chippendales on a Saturday night over in Philadelphia, according to you. So, okay, they lose by 3 touchdowns to them. Fine, 2 touchdowns to them. Sorry, and then they go on to barely beat the Lions, who are not good. Barely beat the Saints, who we've established are not good, and almost get come back on by the fucking Bears, except for 2 weeks in a row, Chicago has a random ass guy make a fucking offensive play and do something super stupid.
Bro, same thing too. That was fucking weird.
Yeah. So a muff punt last week, for what could have potentially been a game winning drive. I'm not saying it would have been, but it would have been nice to try. And then a guy catches a fucking with no time on the clock. A guy catches the ball, and instead of just stepping out of bounds, cuts inside, gets the ball ripped from him like a fucking child, and the game ends. Sorry. So
wait.
I watched that Vikings team. I watched them play the Bears. They're not good. They're not
15 completions, bro. I'm impressed. Keep going.
Yeah, Justin Fields, and that what? This is what I mean. Just again, a very brief Bears tangent.
Yeah,
what I've been saying, and I said this to you last week. You got to fucking win or lose with your guy. And
they did.
They haven't been giving him a chance to make fucking plays. So at least when they gave him the chance to make plays, he made plays. And that wasn't his fault because he completed the fucking pass.
That left tackle fucked you.
Right.
That was the game.
I think we're losing a lot of close games, and I think that I like what they're doing over there, and I like that they're being a little bit less conservative, and I think it is kind of a season of let's see who we got here, and the baby Bears, it's exciting, but quite frankly, the staying on topic with the Minnesota Vikings, I understand you're not saying they're going to win Super Bowl, but I'll go to Joe on this. What do you think, Joe? If you're coming up against, if you've got $1,000 betting put on anyone playing the Vikings in the first round of the playoffs, are you worried? Are you worried that the Vikings are going to come in and take your $1,000?
Oh my God!
I'm asking Joe.
I mean, am I betting against the Vikings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I think this is a good football team, and there's something that Cousins has there now that he hasn't had there before, and that's a very offensive-minded head coach who has taken a mediocre to average, slightly above average quarterback to a Super Bowl and won it. And that's Kevin O'Connell coaching Matt Stafford. He's also coached Jared Goff and made him look good. So
That guy's got a fucking bum hand of quarterbacks in his career.
He made Goff look amazing.
But that's what I'm talking about. And that's what everybody is looking for now is that young head coach that is a quarterback whisperer that's going to get the most out of little. And I mean, Bobby kind of alluded to it and said it without saying it. And correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth, Bobby, but Kirk Cousins is a good NFL quarterback. He just can't win in primetime.
That's it.
If they put him on wild card weekend on the Saturday 1:00 game, no, I'm not worried. I'm worried about somebody taking the money because I think that they can win that game. They're a good football team.
For all the playoff games,
I'll tell you,
their defense isn't great though. They've scored 115 points. They've allowed 102.
Yeah,
and that's with a 4-1 record. So. I mean, they're kind of doing what the Lions have done in a way, but they're a better football team, much more disciplined. And
you think they're better than the Bucs?
Well coached. Do I think they're better than the Bucs? I don't know if I think I'm too biased to answer that question.
Okay, so
I would say
they're better than the Ravens.
Wait, let me lay
better than the Ravens. I don't think they're better than the Ravens. Wait.
From the so you gotta. With the power rankings, you gotta forget what you know.
Bobby, I was just about to defend you.
Listen, wait.
About football?
Wait, no, not about football.
Bobby, can you say that line again so that Craig can cut it and use it?
About that past reputation of the team. This is the 2022 power rankings. And you're telling me right now that when you watch the Vikings this year versus when you watch the Bucs, you watch the Ravens, they're not consistently better.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something right now. If the Vikings are playing the Bucs, if the Vikings are playing the Bucs, say you got even odds across this, right? And we're talking gambling my Leah's hard-earned money. If the Vikings are playing the Bucs, I'm betting on the Bucs. If the Vikings are playing the Ravens, I'm betting on the fucking Ravens. If the Vikings are playing the Chargers, I'm betting on the Chargers. The Vikings are playing the Giants. I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm betting on the fucking Giants.
Well, guess what, Dave? The only team out of that list that you just said is the Giants that they actually do play, and that's on on Christmas Eve.
All right, you know what? I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Right now, after we're done with this podcast, I'm going to put $100 on the fucking Giants to win that game.
Okay.
And we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
And we'll fucking see.
So
if I win that, I should get a special bonus
that
these motherfuckers never make the power rankings again.
I don't know if that's gonna anyway. I'm gonna defend Bobby because I don't necessarily think that they're better.
I'm not attacking Bobby. I'm just attacking his power.
No, and I'm I know, and I'm
really attacking the Vikings.
I'm gonna defend his power rankings. Not Bobby. I'm not gonna defend you. I'm gonna defend your power rankings because I don't like them but I don't like them because of how you rank the teams. I just think there's just so much parity, like I said in the open. But the power rankings probably has these guys where it should be because their only loss is against the number one team in these power rankings. They blew out the Packers 23-7.
But just like last week, I think strength of schedule needs to factor in here.
Yeah, okay. Strength of schedule needs to factor in here. We all had the Packers winning the division. The Vikings smoked them.
Yeah, in game one of the NFL season, which we all agreed was a little bit of a weird week, you know.
Well, now they have a test.
The other three teams they beat were trash, except for one real plucky young one.
Yeah, but
Dave, now they have. Well, actually, you know what? They don't have a test this week because Skylar Thompson is.
Are you saying you're the? Were you the plucky one? Are you the plucky?
Yeah,
you're the.
Dave, I don't think
plucky young upstarts. Right, scallions they are.
You guys are over here like laughing your asses off, and I'm like, I'm so serious right now. I think the Vikings are properly ranked here ahead of the Vikings and the Buccaneers based on what has happened. I don't think that they're a better football team at this point. They probably will fall below those two teams.
I mean, they are 4-1. That's fair.
But they do have a favorable schedule. They do have a favorable schedule. They're going to go up against a rookie quarterback this week for the Dolphins and Skylar Thompson. Then they're going to host the Cardinals up in Minnesota. Excuse me. Then they got the Commanders, and then they have a tough one against the Bills and a tough one against the Cowboys, and then they got the Patriots, and who the hell knows what's going to happen there on Thanksgiving. I would be apt to put my money on the Vikings for that one, but that's just me.
Well, they're gonna get fucking spanked by the Bills, and they're gonna get fucking spanked by the Cowboys. And I don't even know, like, Cowboys aside, like all those jokes aside, like Cowboys just match up so fucking badly against them. Like, just exactly what the Cowboys bring to the table is how I would design a team to beat the fucking Minnesota Vikings. All right. So moving on to a team I'm really excited to talk about because I really, really enjoy watching them play this year, mainly because of how they are the defensive side of the ball. It's the San Francisco 49ers.
Richard Garoppolo. On to the next one.
Joe's second favorite subject. Jimmy G aside, I think for now, we'll come back to him. But I think he's got a terrible deep ball. It's one of the worst I've ever seen. So the 49ers, defense.
We're just gonna dig real quick before we talk about it. Yeah.
That's just what I'm gonna lead off with when we get to the Jimmy G conversation. 49ers defense is fucking great. They can play bend don't break defense when they have to. They can play ball hawk defense when they have to. They have 50 fucking schemes they can switch to. They're super situational. They've got fucking studs all over the field. I hope Bosa's okay. I haven't heard anything about him. I don't know what's going on there. But they're super fun to watch. And I really like this team overall because, like you said, it's like a little earlier, Bobby, was they're going to be there. They're going to be there for all four quarters, and they're going to give themselves a chance to win the game. They're well coached. They're well managed. They look, quite frankly, night and day different with Jimmy G in there.
They really do.
And like on the offensive side of the ball, and it's given their defense a chance to shine. And it's going to be between the Cowboys and the 49ers, I think, for best defense this year. And I'm leaning 49ers at the moment because I just feel like they're so versatile. They're so fast. They're so athletic, and they're smart. They're managing games from the defensive side of the ball, and it's really, really fun to watch. So, Joe, I'll go to you first on this. What have you liked from the 49ers on the defensive side of the ball? And then we can transition to talking about your favorite man in the world.
Well, Nick Bosa is the better Bosa brother. He also does stay on the field more, even though there's a chance
they both just fall apart, bro. I don't understand those two.
Well, I don't know.
They play hard, bro. They play fucking hard.
They do play hard.
Their muscles
Joey Bosa
are just so strong or something. They just rip from their body. You know, that's what keeps happening to them.
I just called Joey Bosa a baby, but in context, I think he's kind of a baby. But Nick Bosa, I think they're both gamers.
He's a fucking stud.
I think their defense is completely solid. They've done a great job putting that defense together, and I think that's why Jimmy fits well into the team because, again, they have a good running game. They have a dynamic offense, and he really doesn't need to do a lot but game manage. And then, it's the same conversation we just had about Lamar, and I'm totally going to switch sides of the ball on you right now, Dave. We just had this conversation about Lamar. Oh, well, he's not a real quarterback. And then you see all the memes and stuff about Jimmy, and it's like, yeah, I won a game, and all we did was run and play defense. And it's like, great. If the most important position on the field doesn't need to be your best and he can manage a game, which he does very well, and he makes most of the throws that he needs to make, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. He's got a dynamic offense and guys that can go over the middle, aren't afraid to go up against the big guys. He can make those short throws. You're right, his deep ball is terrible, but that's why they don't really have a guy that can go deep. So they've built the team around that style of offense. And I think that's why it's working better with Jimmy than it did with what's his face who shouldn't have been the starting quarterback anyway, Trey Lance. And I think their defense is solid. I mean, they're 3-2. I don't think they're going to end up winning this division at the end of the year, but I think they'll remain in the top 10 most of the year because I just think they're that good, and I think Shanahan is that good of a coach.
Yeah, Shanahan is really what makes his team go, right? I mean, you look at what they can do with the running back position. It's just impressive. Like anytime a 49er running back goes down, the next running back is the top waiver wire pickup, and you're getting 8 to 9 weeks of like solid production out of that guy because they're just they're so solid. Like you know exactly what they're gonna do, especially with Jimmy G at the helm. That's the thing is like we know what this team can do. We've already seen what they can do, regardless of when they underperform or what games they lose because of, Jimmy G's sometimes shit games where he runs out of back of end zones or shit like that. But like when it comes down to it,
it happens to the best of them and Dan Orlovsky.
I'm going to build him back up. We're doing the sandwich here. So, but like when it comes down to it, he does win the games that matter. And he does do what he needs to do to win a game. And that's all that team needs. So as long as Jimmy G isn't doing ridiculous things, that team is going to go far.
Yeah. When you say they're not going to win the division, Joe, do you mean the Rams are going to figure out what the fuck is going on and win the division? I got the 49ers winning it.
I don't know, because I kind of follow your thought process that we've talked about with Stafford. where you mentioned they finally figured him out.
Figured him out in the fucking NFC North a decade ago.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody was doing.
I think McVay can adjust to what's going on down there, and I think they'll be all right. It'll be close, but I think the Rams will win that division.
We just played the Rams, and I gotta tell you that offense is not scary anymore. I don't know if it's because I have a fucking amazing defense, but like
here's the thing,
it's only Cooper Kupp guys. That's it.
Yeah. But I mean, that's
all
not,
they are.
That's not something we haven't seen before with Stafford is the thing. Like I told you guys last season, and I did end up being wrong because they went to the Super Bowl and they won one, but it was a little bit of a weird year. I mean, I'm not saying that the Bengals were like the hardest fucking Super Bowl opponent anyone's ever had, but regardless, I mean, you pressure him, and what he does is, I don't know if you guys remember playing like Madden against your friends in high school, and like the kid that sucked like always just pressed the same button when he was trying to throw to receivers. So it was like just going fucking Calvin Johnson say every single time, or going to Cooper Kupp every fucking single time, and it's like we pressure him, and his vision goes. He can't go through his read. He's just that kind of quarterback, and he's always been like that. And I don't know, they figured it out, and unless they can get some serious protection and time for him in there and figure that out, whatever the fuck is going on, and he can actually start going through his read and spreading out that offense a little bit. He's got weapons he doesn't even look at. And it's his fault as far as I'm concerned. Like, he's playing like shit.
You think about it too, the two most important pieces to that run last year was Beckham and Von Miller. Mm-hmm. Those guys brought that to everyone. Was they're washed up.
Von Miller was what I would say.
Von Miller was amazing, and OBJ was about to be Super Bowl MVP. Yeah. Until he tore his ACL. So I just think those two losses are huge, because now you look at the guys they replaced him with, and you got like two scrubs at outside linebacker, and you got who's that? What's that guy's name? Eric Skoneric. Yeah, that's who they replaced Odell Beckham with, and Allen Robinson is invisible and doesn't exist.
But he doesn't get looked at anymore. He doesn't get looked at.
Yeah, he's invisible. He just doesn't exist.
So I don't know. I picked somebody dropped him. I think it might have been your dad, and I picked him up at the waiver wire. Like, I don't know. Maybe they'll start looking his way in a few weeks. I'll leave him on the bench and see what happens. But all right, powering on through. I enjoyed talking about the 49ers. I'm looking forward to seeing how their season unfolds. Bobby, how about them Cowboys? How you feeling?
It's a good segue. Good, man. So I gotta admit, I'm still being reserved. So I kind of compare this to, like, I'm at the 04 Red Sox stage with this team where, like, I'll believe it when
you heard it here first, folks. They're going to win a championship. Bobby says they're going to win a championship this season.
Okay, so the 03 Red Sox, I guess, the pre-04, where I'll believe it when I see it, man. Like I do have all the faith in this team. I love this defense, and I think if they keep doing this, they are a tough team to beat. It can beat any team any week. It doesn't matter who they match up against. If that defense is on, they can win that game.
Who's the quarterback?
We'll get there. But I got to see it at the end of the season. However, for now, this defense is probably the best defense I've ever watched in my entire life.
It is a good question, though. Like, it sort of does have to be addressed.
I'll say this. I'll say if Cooper Rush comes out and they beat the Eagles, right? When Dak's healthy, he's coming back. There's no doubt about that. When Dak's healthy, he's coming back. And Jerry Jones can say all he wants. Anyone can say.
I don't know how good of an idea that is.
If he sucks, they're taking him out. And Cooper Rush is
going to I don't
That's
agree
not a good
with that.
idea.
That's not a good idea. Guys, it's the Cowboys. It's what they're going to do.
I understand it's the Cowboys,
it's
but
what they're going to do. I promise you that's exactly
leave the guy
how he's going to play.
Dude. You got to give him the Tom Brady role,
So you wait until Rush throws a few picks in a game, then you bring Dak back.
You got to let him go out on his shield, man. You got to let him go out on his shield. It's just you can't just go quarterback by committee just because this dude's fucking healthy. He stunk up his first few games in the season, and Cooper Rush is doing well. Like, you just let the man fucking play. He's doing well. He's winning games. Let him play.
And the problem is, Dave, is Dak probably won't let that happen because Dak's been somewhat of a prima donna his entire career. Jerry. But it
shouldn't be up to Jerry either.
Hang on. We have this conversation. Well, he is the GM, so there is a little bit of weight there.
You gotta let the coach.
We have this conversation. We have this conversation about every sport every year when it comes to coaching and the money that's invested in these guys and who should be playing. And you're absolutely right, Dave. Sometimes it's the hot hand, sometimes it's the better player. Here's a hot take. Maybe Cooper Rush is just better than Dak Prescott.
That's not true. It's not true.
Maybe he is. Maybe he is.
But they've So the entire game plan has changed with Cooper Rush in there. Listen, he threw for 106 yards on Sunday. It's not like he lit up the joint on Sunday.
If he wins 2 playoff games, he's better than fucking Dak Prescott.
He's on the same level, if not a little below, like the Jimmy G tier.
How do you know
that Jimmy G?
He's winning games of football.
I understand that. But you can definitely let Dak come into the same exact offense. That's what
I don't think the offense will be the same when he comes in, though. That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't the same when he left, so why would it be the same when he comes back?
Because it's been successful. You know what I mean? I don't.
Rush.
But why wouldn't it be successful with Dak Prescott?
Because he's not going to run that offense. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. They simplified the offense for Cooper Rush. Dak Prescott's going to come in and be like, I want my playbook back. We got to add all these plays back in. And he's going to fuck up, and you guys are going to lose again. Just leave the guy in that's fucking good.
But Zeke even looks better with Cooper Rush at quarterback.
But what? So this whole narrative is just I get it. I do. I love Cooper Rush, and I love what he's doing. This is amazing. But Dak Prescott is still the starting quarterback of this team, and he brings such a different element to the team. I get what happened week 1. All right, we've already talked about it.
What is
week one? Week one is bullshit. You know what I mean? Everyone overreacts to week 1. But if you bring in Dak to this, right, and you still give Pollard 15 carries a game, you still give Zeke 15 carries a game, and Dak also throws for 275 yards, it just adds such a different element. 100. Listen,
I think you're underestimating the ego of Dak Prescott, Bobby. Let me ask you a hypothetical question.
I'm not, though. I'm just.
Bobby,
I think you guys are overestimating why we're winning. Cooper Rush is not why we're winning.
Have you ever heard the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
Yeah, but like
that's just how I view it.
Hey, Bobby, when Trey Lance is
broke, guys.
When Trey Lance is healthy, does he come back and start over Jimmy G?
No. That's so different. Different.
Let me give you a red pill, blue pill question. Hang on. Red pill, blue pill hypothetical. Okay. Blue pill, you get Dak Prescott. You're guaranteed to go to the playoffs, but you can lose in the first round. Red pill, Cowboys have Cooper Rush as the quarterback, guaranteed to go to the NFC Championship.
Cooper Rush. You don't even need to go on. But the thing is so listen, that's
which
what I mean.
Which one takes you out of the Matrix?
The green one, but we ran out.
This is my theory, where this is like how the optimal path I see the season shaking out is Cooper Rush does stay in. We beat Philly this week. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but we beat Philly this week. If we beat Philly, Cooper Rush stays in until he plays like shit, in my opinion. If that happens, then you bring Dak in and he takes over from there. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then you let Cooper keep playing. And then you trade him for a first-round pick, and Dak's still the starting goddamn quarterback of this franchise, guys. He is. It'll be a Nick Foles, Carson Wentz situation.
What else do
I'm
we
not
have
saying
to
it's
see?
smart. I'm not saying it's smart. I'm not saying I agree. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm telling you what's going to happen. And that's just how the Cowboys operate. Dak Prescott is, listen, we just gave up Randy Gregory, Amari Cooper, and all these guys because we paid Zeke $95 million. We paid Dak Prescott 100 and fucking whatever. Dak Prescott's going nowhere. The only person who's getting traded is Cooper Rush. I can promise you that.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm talking about this season.
I get that.
All right, moving on.
All right, who's the next team before I go off on another?
Wait. Listen, first, we can't just take it all up with Cooper Rush. How about that fucking defense?
Yeah, they look great. I told you they were going to look great. I don't know why everybody was so puzzled as to them like not being a good defense. They were like the best defense on paper coming in.
Very much like the 49ers. Good defense with a quarterback who can manage the game and win.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Cowboys
Jimmy
defense probably has like more recognizable all-stars on it than the 49ers, but I think that the 49ers maybe play a little bit better as a cohesive unit, but I enjoy watching both of them. I've been enjoying the Cowboys defense past couple of seasons. As you know, Bobby, I've been on your team for that one. All right, moving on. I think what we're going to do is, just because we only have a couple minutes left, we're going to take the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Eagles, who are 3, 2, and 1 respectively, and we're just going to parse them out a little bit because the Bills and the Chiefs are going to play each other soon. And both teams have obviously are completely fucking stacked on paper. The Bills were everybody's number one pound for pound coming in. The Chiefs obviously still amazing. Juju doesn't look quite as good as Tyreek Hill. He doesn't get the same targets, but still, Travis Kelce is just looking like the best tight end of all time out there, like scoring four touchdowns in a given night. So thanks for that.
Kept me in a fantasy matchup this weekend, which was outstanding.
Yeah, I won my game.
Not
by
our
a billion
fantasy
points
matchup.
because of that. But yeah, you got fucking smoked in our league, Joe.
Not our
See how many
fantasy.
moves I made this morning?
That was
See how many moves I made this morning?
Yeah, they fucking they emailed me to be like, this is the biggest flawed
That
of the
Twitter
week, by the way.
post I put up was on the bulletin board in Joe's locker room, and everyone just got fired.
Got
Everyone
it.
got fired.
Everybody
You got it.
fired.
Everybody's gone. Cleaned house.
I tried to help you. I tried to make some trade offers that you just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, now I'm screwed this week because both of my top running backs are on bye. So maybe I should have done that with you.
Well, maybe we can talk. All right. So the Bills and the Chiefs are in kind of similar situations where they're very highly rated teams that have looked a little bit deficient in certain areas. Maybe haven't won games quite as decisively as we may have expected them to. Between the Bills and the Chiefs, and I'll reserve the Eagles for a second. Between the Bills and the Chiefs, who do you have more faith in to secure themselves a championship this year? Now that a few games have sort of unfolded and you've seen them both on the field, Bobby,
you ready? Let's answer at the same time. 1, 2, 3.
The Chiefs.
Buffalo.
I think they both. So when you think about it, they've both had moments this season where they look like they don't want to win games. You know what I mean? Where they're just coughing things up. Where you're like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
But they also both have had moments where you're like, oh my god, like this is football porn.
Like Monday
This
night.
football
for the Chiefs.
porn, bro. Right? Exactly. And what was it? Thursday, whenever they played who did they beat 44-7? Someone. But yeah, they're just beautiful football. And if you asked me to pick between one of the two, I got to pick the Chiefs, man, because you've seen them do it before, and they kind of molded the offense to a point where, listen, Mahomes was getting into trouble last year, forcing that ball down the field so much, and they've kind of reeled that back in to where now it's Edwards-Helaire, and now they got that rookie Pacheco.
Yeah, he runs hard.
Right, and it's a whole different system.
Juju had a game on Monday. About time.
But Mahomes can still be there is the thing. You know what I mean? Like, so you still have this conservative system, but at the same time, Mahomes can still light it up when you ask him to. So it's a different element that they have now.
I just think the Bills are a wagon. I still think they're a wagon. I said it in preseason last year. I said it preseason this year, and I'll say it now. I just think I think Josh Allen has become the quarterback that no one thought he could become. I think he's got really, really good receivers. His backfield is better than they were with Brian Daboll as the OC, and their defense is outstanding. And they brought in Von Miller, and they made the right move bringing in Von Miller. I think they're the more reliable team. I understand what Bobby's saying. I think if you can rely on the Chiefs to give you a quick hitter, they've done it before. They've been there before. But I think the Bills right now are just building towards greatness and consistency, and they're doing a hell of a job at it.
I just want to see them beat the Chiefs. If they beat the Chiefs, I'm on board.
That would obviously be a big test. I think that the Chiefs, though, I would probably pick the Chiefs as of right now, just based on what I've seen from them. But I think the Chiefs, much like you guys were talking about Kirk Cousins in prime time, like they're kind of the opposite. Like the Chiefs, I think, are better the bigger the game. The more eyes on them, the more pressure on them, I think they get better. And I think that's a formidable quality in a team that, it tends to get you a championship or two if you get better when the pressure's on. So a question for both of you, and we'll sort of end on this point. Bobby, you picked the Chiefs. Joe, you picked the Bills. Bobby, I'll start with you. The Chiefs play the Eagles in NFC, AFC, right? Yeah. So the Chiefs play the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Who wins and why?
Oof. I think the Chiefs win, man. When it comes down to it, listen, I now you're gonna make me contradict my power rankings live on the air. Thanks.
No, because like you said, like the power rankings are like as of right now.
Right.
We're talking about a championship game for all the fucking marbles. It's next week, and they got to go play. The Chiefs are playing the Eagles. Who you got?
Yeah. What my brain goes to is what I've seen before and in my experience in the past. And listen, I've seen Patrick Mahomes in a championship game show up and show out and win his team that game. I've seen Jalen Hurts show up to a championship game and almost lose his team that game in the BCS national championship game, 5 years ago. Tua had to come in and save the day, but that just burned in my mind until further notice with Jalen. Until I see Jalen perform in the playoffs, I will have some doubts about Philly and how far they can go into January. But if it's like a week 7 game and it's in Philly, I'll pick Philly. 100% I pick Philly. Right. But the Super Bowl, man, yeah, I think I go Chiefs.
So, Joe, you chose the Buffalo Bills between the two. Same situation, NFC, AFC. Buffalo Bills are playing the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. Josh Allen in the wagon versus Jalen Hurts in his
birdcage.
his friends. Who you got?
He's got an electric scooter. Just
I got the AFC regardless of which one of those teams takes them on. I think the Eagles are flawed. I don't think they're as good as we think they are, or they're making us believe. I don't think it's like the 11-0 start that Pittsburgh had. What was that, 2 years ago? I don't think they're that flawed, but I don't think they even get to the Super Bowl. I don't think Jalen Hurts ends up winning.
There is a strength of schedule
MVP
question with the Eagles. We did talk about this last week.
Yeah,
and it's so the rest of the season.
This week is a test. It's against the Cowboys. How will they play against this kind of a defense, this kind of game management, not the quarterback in himself, but the overall plan? I mean,
and a momentum team as well.
We don't do well against mobile quarterbacks. So
they beat the Lions by 3. They blew out the Vikings, who I still think are a good football team. They blew out the Commanders, who are a bad football team. They beat the Jaguars by 8, and they beat the Cardinals by 3. And now they have the Cowboys and the Steelers back to back. Not that I think that the Steelers are a great football team, but that's always a hard-nosed battle between those two teams. Either way, I don't care who it is in the Super Bowl.
You can't really, anything can happen.
Both.
I think that team is flawed, and I don't think Nick Sirianni is a very good coach. So I would take the AFC regardless of which two teams.
Both the Eagles and the Cowboys have the entire AFC South remaining on their schedule. just so you know.
That's nice. That's a nice vacation.
Tampa's not very good, so they're
on the beach already. So, I mean, I'd have to agree with you guys in your assessment of the Eagles. I mean, I have been pretty vocal about it up until this point, but I will say, just as a counterpoint, I've seen teams build up really good records against not very good teams, and that confidence has carried them through. So, even if they don't beat everybody and they do get where they're number one in the power rankings, so we have to sort of conceptualize them being in the Super Bowl. And if they are, it'd be a fun Super Bowl to watch. A lot of dynamic players. I'd love to see them come through the Ravens too. Like, that'd be crazy. Or no, they can't, right? Fucking NFC, AFC. I always think the Ravens are in the NFC for some reason. But
Birds.
That'd be a cool matchup. I doubt I doubt like both teams are making the fucking Super Bowl, but that'd be a cool matchup. But
even if the Eagles lost every tough game remaining on their schedule, they would only have 3 losses to end the season.
Yeah, and they could be a dynamic and confident team going into the playoffs that just rides that streak. But I think what we did with our little hypothetical is we discovered that
I like that. That was nice.
Even though the Eagles are number 1 in the power rankings, no one fucking believes in them. All right, for Broadway Joe Malkin, for the real BK Bob Kelly, MDK Sizzle, Dave Clark, and that was Missing the Point. Thanks for listening.
If you're a working professional wondering what's next for your career, you've come to the right place. Whether you're looking for a promotion, growth, or a potential career transition, look no further. With over 30 years working in a variety of industries, I share my insider knowledge with those ready to get ahead on Career Advancement with Craig Ansell. Tune in to get your strategies for success.
Welcome to the Reverie Channel, where entertainment knows no bounds. Live concerts, on-demand music, documentaries, and short films, all in stunning HD. Now on Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Immerse yourself from home. And on Android and iOS for those on the move. Support creators with crowdfunding donations. Fuel their creativity. Join us in shaping entertainment's future. The Reverie Channel, where every view, every donation matters.
Electricast.